Jason Billsborough has a grim souvenir of his accident on Beaumont Street. The helmet he was wearing when he was sideswiped by a truck took the full brunt of the impact. Jason doesn't recall what his head hit, but it may have been 3 objects, possibly a signpost, a concrete bus seat and the ground. He was taken to the Mater Hospital where the diagnosis was a few cuts and bruises and a great deal of luck.
Just bruised, basically. No serious injuries. Just a little bit of a scar up there, that's all.
Ambulance paramedics say the helmet dramatically improved his survival chances.
We feel that without the helmet that he was wearing, which was an approved bicycle helmet, he could well have received serious head injuries, if not death.
Okay, thanks. Police say 4 cars and a semi-trailer were involved in the crash on the Branxton to Thornton Road at about 6:30. 1 person was killed and a woman badly injured. She's been airlifted to the John Hunter Hospital. Salvage crews are still working to clear the road and police have advised motorists to avoid the area. This is a guide tape.
Hambledon Hill is a 130-year-old homestead and property set in a farming district north of Singleton. Gary Burke bought the house and 20 hectares of land last year, planning to breed deer. The Department of Agriculture advised Gary to remove thousands of tonnes of sandy topsoil to build a 25 million litre dam. Council gave approval to do the job over 3 years, so Mr Burke took a contract to truck sand to the Scone racetrack. It was a handy and economic way to solve his problem, but it created a heated debate for locals along the road.
There's been eggs on vehicles, there's been cars driven at the trucks.
60% of the sand, up to 38 truck movements a day, has already been moved along the narrow country roads. Neighbours argue it is dangerous, also saying dust from the dam site is a serious problem. Gary Burke says he has strict regulations for the truckies to drive carefully and keep loads covered at all times. While no residents were available to speak on camera, privately they said they were ready for a fight. Singleton Council has been inundated with complaints.
We've had up to 20 phone calls a day. Last week the President had 6 phone calls before 7 in the morning.
Council has now put Mr Burke on notice, saying that the original development approval has become invalid, as they say the initial agricultural plan has changed to that of an extractive industry. With threats of legal action, Council will meet on Monday to reconsider the approval, but the battle lines seem drawn as both sides say if necessary they'll take it to the highest courts. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The tranquility of Lake Liddell was rocked by the sounds of a J34 Westinghouse jet engine this morning as Kevin Hickling put the Southern Cross water shuttle through its paces. Fine-tuned but extremely fickle, it was soon clear the $1.2 million craft wasn't running smoothly. Continual engine problems saw the practice session interrupted before it had even started.
It's like a V8 engine that's only firing on 4 cylinders.
Mechanics discovered sediment in the fuel tanks. A quick flushing operation saw the boat back on the water, this time with full power. Unfortunately, by that time a stiff nor'westerly breeze had left the lake awash with whitecaps, and it was simply too dangerous to open the throttle, let alone chase Ken Warby's 13-year-old world water speed record.
7 have attempted it, 1's still alive, and I intend to remain that way, so we'll only do it when we feel that the boat's right and all the elements are right with us and the boat is checked out 100% for safety factors.
Hickling hopes to officially challenge the record within the next 12 months.
A student at Hamilton TAFE and employee at Woolies in Singleton, Craig is said to be a cut above the rest. But it wasn't his knife skills that won the award, it was his keen eye for quality.
Oh, just from looking at the meat, you can tell you have a look for a good colour, good red colour, texture of your meat, the colour of your fat, and how much fat.
Along with another apprentice, John Manchie from Narrabri, Craig took out the intercollegiate meat judging competition and won a trip to the US to see how the Americans grade their beef.
Yeah, I was fairly happy. It sort of didn't hit me at first, but I think when I get on the plane, I'll know about it.
The competition was set up by the Meat Industry Authority, and it's obvious Craig Main is staking his claim for a successful career.
With a cheer, the 200-strong team of scientists sat back to marvel at their work, a major success in a project that began back in 1973. It's the first time a substantial amount of fusion power has been produced in a controlled experiment, as opposed to a bomb. Fusion is the energy source of the sun and other stars. Unlike nuclear fission, in which atoms are split apart, fusion relies on superheating atoms, making them hit each other with such force that they fuse together, releasing energy. Several Australians are part of the team at the Joint European Fusion Reactor in Oxfordshire, England. But this is only the beginning. The next step is to learn to control the reaction so the power can be harnessed.
Kooragang has been used as an industrial dumping site since the early 70s. 2 years ago, BHP commissioned independent consultants to investigate the environmental effects, and the results are finally in. Soil and water samples have been found to exceed State Pollution Control Commission guidelines for a wide range of contaminants. According to the report, lime and dolomite sludge dumping has created very high local pH conditions in the groundwater, and this is a problem if the groundwater leaves the site. The report also found elevated levels of lead, fluoride and ammonia are the outstanding contaminants, and that all the organic constituents tested, phenols, cyanides and hydrocarbons, are above guidelines in some sampling areas. BHP insists there is no cause for concern.
There has been some evidence that some materials have leached into the groundwater, but we're extremely confident that we have it confined at the moment, and also that our plans are in place in the future to perhaps put down like permanent boreholes or pumps that will keep it in that area.
But damning or not, the results seem to be of little interest to the SPCC. Regional Manager Alan Crapp today admitted he'd barely had time to even skim through the lengthy report and couldn't see himself doing so for at least another 2 weeks. By that time, the document will be 3 months old. Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
It was also a solemn service for hundreds of people throughout the Hunter.
You don't forget them at all, no matter what the day of the year is.
At Maitland Park, ex-servicemen and women from both World Wars and Vietnam proudly displayed their medals and remembered mates who had fallen fighting for their country. A wreath was laid along with several books. Peter Lord from the Maitland sub-branch of the RSL noticed an obvious lack of young people at the service.
No, I don't think they're forgotten. It's just that they don't know.
Today, diggers across Australia were united when praying that this country will not go to war again.
Gone are the days where early season training consisted of a few runs in the sandhills, an occasional set of exercises and ball work. Now it's a scientific approach to try and steal a march on the opposition, and in such a competitive field as the National Basketball League, every little edge helps. The Newcastle Falcons, hammered on the court for the past couple of years, have enlisted the help of former Sheffield Shield cricketer and Newcastle University lecturer Ashley Woodcock to coordinate conditioning.
It's a really key area in this day and age, particularly as the sport is becoming more and more competitive, and you're looking at ways of getting edge over other teams, and conditioning, the fitness level of players is very crucial, and as an adjunct to the skill side of it.
With players back from holiday, the realisation that the season has already arrived caught a couple short of breath and fitness. But come competition time, all will be revealed.
Some of them will need to sort of develop a different work ethic, perhaps in terms of their approach to fitness training. And I'm hoping that I can complement the program here by designing a program that's basketball specific.
Police say 2 or possibly 3 people broke into the Belmont News Agency sometime between 6:30 last night and 3:30 this morning. The thieves went straight to a safe containing several $1,000s in cash and a large quantity of scratch lotto tickets also valued at thousands of dollars. The safe, measuring about 1 metre by half a metre, weighs a substantial amount, but the intruders came prepared for the job. They'd brought along their own trolley, hastily spray-painted black for the nighttime operation. It apparently collapsed under the weight, forcing them to use the newsagent's own trolley to finish the job. However, they furnished detectives with a valuable clue when they left their own behind. It's possible the trolley was originally yellow in colour. Police believe it's distinctive enough to help them.
It may be that someone out there has either lent that trolley or knows who owns a trolley like that.
The haul included $1, $2, $3 and $5 scratch lotto tickets. Detectives say people should be wary if they're offered similar tickets outside authorised distribution agencies.
We're asking the public if anyone's trying to sell those tickets to them cheaply to get in contact with Belmont detectives.
There is no shortage of determination and heart in this group of athletes. Why do you do it?
Because I like to win and beat everybody else.
Meredith Barber won a gold medal at the Pacific Games last year, and she's hoping to be selected again to compete against the Kiwis and Americans. For this competition, intellectually disabled school students have come from across the state, swimming in all the traditional events. Not only do the athletes achieve tremendous feats in the water, but teachers say the students benefit greatly by meeting new faces and learning the spirit of competition. The racing shifts to land on Thursday with an athletics carnival at Wallsend. There is an average of 1 caravan or trailer crash each week in New South Wales, and according to the experts, how you load the van is of vital importance. And while the State Parliamentary Stay Safe Committee investigates the need for a special licence to tow, inventor Peter Griffiths has developed what he believes is a huge boost for safety.
And lower the jockey wheel until such times as the weight is totally off the jockey wheel.
It's called the weigh bar, a steel tube with a calibrated spring inside which measures the load of the van on your tow bar. An incredibly simple idea. If the load is too heavy, weight should be either removed or redistributed. If too light, weight should be added or moved to the front.
In the underload situations gives you tail sway, and the overload situation gives you suspension problems and very light steering, which can be dangerous.
With his son Mark, Peter hopes to sell the product for around $100. They see a huge potential market now the Stay Safe Committee has highlighted the hazards of unsafe towing.
More than 160 buses and 300 drivers from Newcastle and Belmont stopped work from 10 o'clock this morning until 2 p.m. for an update on talks between their union and the State Transit Authority over work reforms. While most commuters were forewarned of the stoppage, a few appeared unprepared. The union and management have been at loggerheads over bus drivers' timetables for a number of years, and this stoppage marked the first anniversary of the last breakdown of any significant agreements on running and standing times. Newcastle Buses acting manager Ken Dolan said he believed there was light at the end of the tunnel for commuters who are wondering if the bus dispute will ever be resolved.
That is up to the meeting today to decide. But I believe that discussions we've held recently will show a positive situation and we should not see any disputes in the future.
But the hope was short-lived, with drivers agreeing to participate in workplace reform only if State Transit came up with a solution to the standing and running times dispute by December, Friday the 13th.
Failing agreement on it, there's going to be a 24-hour strike on that day.
Union spokesman Dave Winwood is also sympathetic to the plight of commuters but says the drivers are not at fault.
We've tried to compromise, we've bent over backwards, we've produced evidence and they're just not interested in it.
While management and drivers at least agree that they have many complex issues to resolve, that's cold comfort for commuters who just want a reliable service. Regular bus commuters are the people least able to get about during seemingly endless stoppages, and they're clearly dissatisfied with the lack of progress.
I don't think it's fair.
Are you surprised the buses are on strike?
Yes, I am. But I'm used to it. Sack them all and put the unemployed on.
After years of disharmony in the bus service, there's little optimism among either party that the December strike can be averted. Cynical passengers are likely to be already making alternative plans. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
The Waste Management Authority announced this week that within 6 years Sydney's dump sites will be completely full, providing a headache for the city's 41 councils. There are few sites left in Sydney to turn into landfill dumps, and in most cases the sites are too close to residential areas. So the search is on for an alternative, and the government has made it clear it likes the idea of privatising waste disposal. This paves the way for companies like Stockrington Rail Waste, the Sydney company which wants to transport millions of tonnes of rubbish by rail from the northern suburbs and dump it at the old mine site at Seahampton. Yesterday, the Land and Environment Court ruled Newcastle Council's development of a new waste site at Summerhill illegal. While it hasn't completely ruled out Summerhill, Council admits it is now considering the idea of a regional facility.
We've had this regional waste
proposal put to us, and we'll look at anything. If that was a better possibility than going ahead with Summerhill anyway, we'd simply abandon Summerhill. We want to get the best deal for our ratepayers.
Lake Macquarie is in a similar situation. The Redhead dump has a life of just 3 years, and as yet Council has found no alternative. It too is looking toward a regional strategy. Jodie McKay, NBN News. The freight train derailed while speeding around a curve 240 kilometres southeast of Mexico City. It's thought the train's brakes failed and all of the 18 cars left the tracks, careering across a highway and slamming into a machine workshop. More than 20 bodies have already been dragged from the wreckage of buses and cars which were crushed beneath the train's carriages. Meanwhile, in the United States, a freight train loaded with explosives plunged off a railway bridge. 15 cars left the tracks, landing nose first into the Salt River in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. A fire which began in cars carrying building materials threatened to spread to other carriages laden with chemicals and explosives. As a cloud of smoke drifted across the town, 5,000 people were evacuated. But the fire was contained and no one was injured. It's believed the bridge had been weakened earlier in the day when a garbage truck crashed near a pylon under the structure.
Built more than 10 years ago by a local community group, the castle was always intended to be a playground for tiny tots. Unfortunately, in recent times, it's become a meeting spot for juvenile lawbreakers.
As you can see around, there's a large amount of evidence of alcoholic beverages having been consumed here.
And yesterday came the incident police describe as the last straw. A 15-year-old schoolgirl was bashed against one of these concrete walls until she was knocked unconscious.
To come up to the centre, up to the playground here and see a young girl unconscious in the middle of the playground here, I just thought to myself, well, really, we should start and look about doing something constructive about the situation.
Constable Gover is currently preparing a report outlining the problems associated with the castle, which he will forward to the Newcastle City Council. Lord Mayor John McNaughton says he's been aware of the situation for some time and is considering a number of solutions, including, as a last resort, the demolition of the entire complex.
I've been reluctant to recommend demolition because it was put there by a community group as a facility for the community, and it seems unfortunate because of a few people who don't do the right thing that it's got to be destroyed.
Oh, you've got to be synchronised.
Hey, Wally, smell good, Dad. Keep going.
Do you want me to help you? Do you want me to